despite the fact that he was 230 pounds. The courageous assistant principal, after he fired one shot, was able to tackle him and stop any further damage, except the fact that one teacher was shot but survived. That individual has now spent most of his life locked up in jail, as should be the case. But I want to tell you what I thought was so profound. The cries of the children and students in Parkland and all across this nation reached him in his prison cell. And he recently said to the media that when I'm released for this crime of shooting my classmates when I was 16, when I'm released from jail in 2021, I want to become an advocate to stop gun violence and help people with mental illness. Can you imagine that? The change of heart, the transformation of an individual who was the person, who was the perpetrator? Now I say to you, if this individual can see that there's a different path, that we need to fight gun violence, why can't the cries of the students in Parkland and all across the nation, including here in Long Island, reach our leaders in Washington, D.C., if they can find their way to a jail in New York State? That is my question. That is my question. And I will tell you, seeing those students in that other school as well, who've lived with the knowledge that it's not just something they see on TV, that this security that every young person is entitled by right to sit in a classroom, and yes, maybe it's not always exciting learning chemistry and social studies and your civics and your, I get that, I've been there, but you're entitled to security. You should never sit there with the fear that because your elected officials in Washington did not have the courage to protect you, that your life is in danger. And that, students, is the cause of your lifetime. The phrase is, and I've been in so many marches, march for our lives. I'm asking you to make this be the march for the rest of your life, or at least until such time as we change the leadership in Washington if they will not respond, and get common sense gun laws enacted in the United States of America. We have to do that, and we can do that together. And we've done it in the state of New York. Now, you're fortunate to live in this state. I've been all over. I know the rights that we have here. This state is the birthplace of the women's rights movement. It is the birthplace of the labor movement. It is the birthplace of the LGBTQ movement and many other civil rights initiatives as well. Indeed, the NAACP, the early genesis, started in the state of New York up near Niagara Falls. That is part of our DNA. We are progressive leaders. We lead the rest of the nation. And that's why after the Sandy Hook slaughter in a grade school, if you can imagine little 6-year-olds and their teachers being gunned down in a classroom, when that happened in 2012, our state sprung into action. And we said, we will ban those assault rifles. And yes, we have a hunting culture. I'm from that world. I'm from upstate. People like to have a gun to hunt and recreate. But I've not seen a deer that you needed an AK-47 or an AK-15 to take down. You can continue your practice of sportsmanship with a simple rifle. So we banned them. We raised the age. We required background checks. And we got it done here in the state of New York, despite intense opposition from parts of our state. But you know what it took? And something you should demand from your leaders? It took political courage. And sometimes when you're in our positions, you have to be willing to lose the election to stand on principle. And that's the kind of courage I want to have in my elected officials. Don't you think you deserve that as citizens of this great country? Yes, indeed you do. I'm simply going to say 2 more things. One is that I saw an image that sticks with me to this day. That after Parkland, individuals gathered 7,000 sneakers and shoes and placed them on the lawn of our nation's capital, a place I once proudly served. They were a reminder of all the young people that have been killed through gun violence at schools. 7,000 individuals who never reached the age of 18 to be able to cast a vote. I am calling on you today to be their surrogate voices and commit, in addition to continuing this cause in every means possible for the rest of your life, if that's what it takes, you have to commit to vote in every single election on behalf of the young people whose voices were stilled because of gun slaughter. So I'm going to put that on you. You must never, ever miss the opportunity to cast your privilege to vote. And make sure you vote for people who will stand with you and stand up to the NRA and stand up for your right to sit in a classroom and yes, perhaps be bored once in a while, but know that you're going to safely conclude that day in school. Can you stand with me on that? If you stand with me on those issues, stand up right now. Stand up in this audience and say, I will stand with the young people of Parkland. I'll stand with the families of Stanley.